you can be smart, but you have a blind spot and you make mistakes. So, I mean, I've been very lucky in my life. I've worked with a lot of smart people, but maybe because of the way you're raised, you can have blind spots. Smart people cannot see obvious things sometimes. I would say older Americans sometimes struggle with tech. Brilliant Americans over 60 years old. Billionaires struggle with tech. My 12, 13-year-old son knows more tech than the average 60-year-old billionaire. It's just the way the reality works. Jerry Jones, a very smart man. And Jerry Jones was talking about the Dallas Cowboys and the fact that he's the general manager. And, Jerry Jones, for the last 60 years, 65 years, has been successful in everything. Oil, retail, sports. He's got 25 different businesses. Stan Kroenke, who's the richest or second richest NFL owner, relies on him. They're very close friends. So, of course, when Jerry wakes up in the morning, after 50, 60 years of being successful, he thinks, I'm a pretty smart guy. But I think Jerry has a blind spot, and I've seen this a lot. So he was talking on Dallas radio yesterday about, yes, I'm the GM. Yes, it all goes through me. So he's sort of bragging about it, but he's ultimately diagnosing the Cowboys' problem. They're a huge brand, but they're too insular. So this is Jerry's blind spot. He's built a $5.5 billion family business. And he does watch football, but mostly cowboy football, I've been told. And this is where the Cowboys have an issue, and I've seen this happen with a lot of businesses. It's a family business. Do you know the Cowboys head coach is a former Cowboy? The Cowboy quarterback coach is a former Cowboy. The Cowboy offensive coordinator is a former Cowboy. The offensive line coach is a former Cowboy. The defensive tackle coach is a former Cowboy. Cowboy, family, Cowboy. When you do not have a global search, when you do not move outside of your family, I've seen this a million times in college football where you hire the top assistant, the coach leaves, let's just hire the a loyal assistant. My whole life in the Pacific Northwest, it never worked. You got to go outside the family. Now, Charlotte, it's a classic family business. Jerry's the patriarch. His ambitious son is the number 2. His super smart daughter, Charlotte, who went to Stanford, I've met her, she's sharp as a tack. She's runs the operation. Then the kind of less aspirational son sells stuff. And then Jason Garrett's brother is the director of scouting. And Jason Garrett's always been the adopted sort of son for Dallas. The Cowboys are like a college football program that won't go outside the athletic department. Like they won't go on a global search and find the best people. Oh, boy, they did it briefly. Jimmy Johnson. They did it briefly with Jimmy, and we're not comfortable. Jimmy's got too much power. All right. And they did it briefly with Bill Parcells. He was outside of the family. It's guy's got a little too much power. You can be smart and have blinders on. The term I always use is sometimes you have to take the telescope, flip it over, and look through the other side of the telescope, the other view of the world. And I think with Dallas, you can have a big brand and a great business, but be insular. They're sort of like Walmart. Like it's the Walton family. And there's nothing against Walmart. They built a great brand. But, if even when you hired a CEO for Walmart, he felt like an outsider, he had no real power. Eric Mangini was on First Things First this morning, and he brought up a fascinating point about the downside to everybody in the building being a Cowboy. And there's been very few global searches and people outside of the Cowboy Jerry world and the family that would make people uncomfortable. Here's Mangini.
I think the issue is with a GM, what you want to have as a head coach is the ability to have constructive conflict. You want to fight through issues. You want to disagree with the owner. You can owner/GM. You want to have conflict, but at the end of the day, you're going to do what he wants you to do. So you may not get to the right decision. You're just going to get to whatever decision Jerry wants.
Listen, nobody can sit in a room with Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and you're an outsider, and not think about, I just bought a house here, I have daughters here, I don't want to make Jerry and Steven mad, but I totally disagree with what they're saying. And Steven and Jerry are smart guys and good guys and successful guys, but sometimes you don't understand that your name has so much power and leverage and fear surrounding it. It scares off good candidates and scares off really good conversations in the room. And so Jerry there was sort of bragging about being the GM. He was actually diagnosing the problem, which is it's too much cowboy with the Cowboys. Go outside. Have influence beyond your athletic department and your family. And it's a great business. It's a $5.5 billion business. But I don't think the Cowboys have the best people in the NFL with all of their NFL operations. I think their scouting department's done a very, very good job. And I do think the Jones family loves college football on Saturday. They watch it. They love it. It's a college football family. They'll watch the Texas Longhorns and Arkansas and Big 12 football on Saturday, whereas Belichick's not as much into that. So that part I like. But I just think sometimes you become insular. Smart people can make bad decisions and just don't understand the power they have and the limitations they create. Okay, here's an interesting story. Lamar Jackson's playing tomorrow night. He's obviously, it's fascinating. We have seen lots of quarterbacks who are athletic. Michael Vick, Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick. They all work. Do they all last? Has always been my point. They all work initially. RG3 was Rookie of the Year over Andrew Luck. They all work. Do they last? Cam's now all beat up. RG3 got beat up. Michael Vick didn't quite go initially as we thought it would. So Earl Thomas, former Seahawk, now a Raven, he said he's noticing some of the hits in the last couple of weeks, and NFL needs to step in here. They're not trying to end his career, but they are trying to hurt him, at least for the next 3 hours, so he has to go to the sidelines. It's very interesting here. He is so fast and electric that there's a term in basketball called breaking a guy's ankles, where you make a guy look really bad. Even Allen Iverson even broke Michael Jordan's ankles a couple times. That Lamar is breaking ankles. He's making guys look really, really bad on film. Like he's embarrassing corners. He's embarrassing linebackers. And you go to that film room on a Monday or a Tuesday, and it's a brutal film session for you as a linebacker. And those guys do not forget. And so there's a lot of comparisons to Lamar Jackson. But one of the things that we haven't mentioned Cam Newton a lot. So when Cam Newton came into the league, he embarrassed guys. He ran them over. He was so big and strong. And I said, Cam's got to get out of this Superman thing because he's gonna create some embarrassment. He's going to run over a corner, run over a linebacker, make him miss, do the Superman. That ain't going to play Monday in film session. And did you notice after Cam had his most profound year, the MVP year, do you remember how the hits got cheaper, later, and uglier on Cam Newton? Because when Lamar gets to it, remember those Cam Newton? Cam Newton started having big success, and people started hitting him up high. Remember that hit against Atlanta? People started hitting him late, because he had embarrassed them with a Superman. Now, Lamar doesn't do the Superman stuff, but he makes guys look insanely unathletic who have a lot of pride. And my point is on this, they're not trying to end Lamar's career, but they'd like to knock him out of games. You talk to these old school NFL guys, every single one you ask about him, they're like, oh, this wouldn't happen. we just knock him out. You just not run and you're not going to make us look bad. Now, Tom Brady can embarrass you with his arm, but players understand that's what quarterbacks do. Running backs can embarrass you with their legs. Everybody in the league knows that's what they're built to do. But when the quarterback, the star, the highest paid, the face of the franchise starts wiggling out there, they're not supposed to make you as a linebacker look stupid, or you as a corner, or you as a safety, or as a defensive end. And it's no fault of Lamar. This is just a reality, is if he gets to a Super Bowl, everybody in the league is going to spend an entire offseason going, how do we stop him? Just like they did Cam. And the answer was, hit him a little late, hit him a little high, take the penalty. And so when Earl Thomas says the league's got to step in, this is why I keep preaching, Lamar, learn to slide. Do not let the NFL dictate your future. This is why Russell Wilson lasts. He's a baseball player. He's a great slider. Kyler Murray, baseball player. Great slider. Aaron Rodgers didn't play baseball. He's still a pathetic slider. I watched a kid this weekend that played for Georgia, Jake Fromm, is the worst slide I've ever seen. Don't leave this to the NFL. Lamar, learn to slide, learn to get down, because you are so gifted, so nimble, so fast, so dynamic. You're humiliating guys, and they don't have a way to solve it. So they'll take it into their own hands. They'll hit you late, little higher, little uglier, take the penalty, deal with an ejection. I guess my takeaway on Earl Thomas is, hey, the NFL's got to step in. Don't leave it to the NFL. Listen, for 10 years, they couldn't figure out what a catch was. Do not leave it to the NFL. Lamar, I would literally hire a sliding coach. I would, because he is so good. He's making guys look so bad, they're going to take it into their own hands on the defensive side. By the way, he plays tomorrow night against the Jets. It is not a good matchup for the New York Jets. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.